So the first thing I'm going to do is head over to the overhead panel. And I just flew right by it. And I've already done turned my ground power on, so we're gonna arm our emergency lights, turn our battery on, click on our right external power. Second one's not required unless you just want to turn it on. From here on over, that's pretty much all we need to turn our Adaroo on, and need to let me know if the sound of the game is drowning out my voice. Is the game louder than me? It must be okay. What you're hearing is the must be the packs. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and head back down. And pull up our FMC. As you can see, everything's still turning on. We're gonna click over to FS Actions. Click on our fuel, and let's pull our flight plan up. And it shows you how dumb I am. I didn't even say where I was flying to. We're going from DFW all the way up to Memphis, which should be a pretty short flight. So our block fuel is 42,281. So we're gonna put 42,281. Then we're gonna go ahead and click on return and click on our payload. And we need to set our zero fuel weight, which will be 530020, but we only need to put in 530.0. So now we've basically randomized our passengers and our cargo. So we'll need to go back to return. Click on our return and click on FMC. Hit clear to clear out our internal position. Initial position. Click on position. And we are sitting at KDFW. And we will put that in right here up to the left. We'll take that coordinates, put it down in the scratch pad, and put it off here to the right. We've now initiated where we are located at. I'm going to turn that caution light off. Next thing we're going to do is go to our departure. I'm not sure. Maybe I did put the flight plan in. Let me check here. On our route. Yeah, we need to put our route information in first. So we'll put KDFW, and we can put our destination as KMEN. Oops, I put N. It's supposed to be M. We can go ahead and request our route. and we will give that a second, and it shows that it's ready, so we'll click on the load button. And we will go ahead and click on the activate button and hit execute. Go ahead and put our flight number in. We'll just put 14. Now, alright, now we have our performance initiation. Hit clear on that. Go back to index. Now we're going to hit on our departure, and we're departing on 36 right. So we're looking for 36 right. Just click next. 36 right. And our departure will be Force K3. Here's Force K3, or whatever you want to say it, spell it out. And we don't have a transition for takeoff, so we'll just go ahead and hit execute. Then we'll go back to departure and arrival. We'll go to arrive at KMEM, and we will be landing on 36 left. So we'll look for ILS 36 left. And our star is Harbor K3. So we will hit on our Harbor K3 right here. And our transition will be WSTON, Wooston. And we will click on execute. Now what we're going to do is click on our legs page. Come up here, bring it in a little bit closer, and we will move the left button here next to where I just changed the in and out over to plan. And let's do our steps. You can see it's taking off right here, so let's do our steps. We got our discontinuity here. So to fix that, all we have to do is click on Hobart and put it there in front of it and hit execute. Click on step, step. Now we got a vectors, so we can go ahead and cover this up unless you want to go off into oblivion. So let's click on Weston, put over vectors, execute that. Now we'll have our nice turn going down into, and we can, let's pull it out a little bit. See, it looks shorter than it actually is, but it's actually about 10 or 20 miles out from what it actually shows here. So we're all good. Now if we want to go up, if we accidentally overshoot the runway or whatever, then we can go up here and do our hold, and in reality we would get our ATC to guide us back around, but obviously in prepared 3D that's not possible. So we'll go ahead and close that out and click on legs again, and now we will go to initiate and click on our 0 fuel weight and click it to show up down here, and then you can click it again. Our cost index is 20. I don't know why it shows 150. And for some reason it's not letting me change it. Not unless that means 15. And it won't let me. We need to accept the perf data here. Click on clear. Now it might let me change the cost index. There we go. We'll click on our thrust data, and I usually just leave this alone. These are for D-rates for your takeoff. I can't give you a lot of information because I don't really know, so all I can do is leave it at that. We'll go to our takeoff page. Let's just do a flaps 5 takeoff and click on our center of gravity. Now we have a trim of 4.50. And what I do is I go and click on the next page. And because this is Active Sky, we can get our wind information from Active Sky. I can pull that over here. And our surface wind at DFW is actually 0 at 0. Which, that doesn't sound right, but that's what I'm going to put in. Our slope on our runway is always 0 in prepared 3D. Our outside air temperature is 17 degrees Celsius. Now we'll head back and go back to the previous page and click on our reference for our VREFs for our takeoff. So let's just make sure we got everything set up correctly. And it looks like it's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and I'm going to set this over to menu and set it over to FS Actions and click on ground services, and I'm just going to minimize that down for now, and we are going to go ahead and start up the APU. So we're going to head back over to the top panel, but first I'm going to go ahead and turn our flight directors on. Now head over to our top panel. I'm going to go ahead and right here's our APU. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click over to on and then start. And while that starts up, I'm going to go ahead and just put all the hydraulics. These will kind of all be set to auto. So I'm going to set all these to auto. Turn our fuel pumps on. This is not the correct order that it's typically done. I'm just going through it, so if you want to just jump in here and do a one flight to another, this is how you could just do it quickly. We can leave the left packs and everything else to where it says off. The goal is after the plane is fired up or started is just to make sure all these lights are off. So we can go ahead and set our seat belts to auto. This is a freight flight, so it's not going to have that many passengers anyway. Just probably 2 plus 1 extra. We can go ahead and turn our beacon, our nav, our logo, and our wing light on. I go ahead and turn our strobe light on. And let's go down and make sure our APU is started. And it shows right there in the center that our APU is running. So now we can go back to our seat and pull up our FMC. And you can see where it says release, all you have to do is remove the wheel chocks and it automatically disengages the ground power. So the next thing I do is go ahead and click on return, and we will click on our pushback, and what I do is our pushback style will just be a straight back, and we'll select our tug to TPX 200. Then all we have to do is push on start. The next thing we want to do is set our altitude, which is 33,000 for our flight. And we will click on our, yeah, that was supposed to be on. Click on our LNAV and our VNAV, and if both of those come on and stay, then we most likely have your flight plan, or my flight plan, or our flight plan set up correctly. Next thing I like to do is move over here to the right panel and click on flight controls. That way down here in the center we know what our stab trim is that we put in here. So let's pull up our FMC again and go over to our route, to our takeoff, and you can see our trim, it will be set to 4.50. Now I'm not sure if it will let me do it before the engines are started or not, but let me just check real quick. Yes, it will. So we've set our stab trim to 4.5. Now let's head back to our index and go back to our menu, FS actions. Back to our pushback. And we're going to move over here to the right. And you'll see this over here where it says standby, takeoff, and TARA. We're going to move that over to the right and push on the test button.
TCAS test pass.
So we should pretty much have our plane set up correctly. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do, let me go back over here to the right. Let me make sure the doors are all closed. Check that real quick. Go to our doors, and you can see where they're already closed because they're not lit up at all, and just go ahead and arm them all. Click on return. Go back to our pushback, and let's make sure our parking brake is set. And you can go ahead and just leave the heading the way it is, the speed the way it is for now. We got our altitude set. We got our flight directors on. So let's just go one last time to the overhead. Make sure we have everything set. So we have our hydraulics set to auto. We have our fuel pumps on. We can actually go ahead and turn our taxi lights on. And right here's where we will start our engines. And it looks like we are set. So as we do our pushback, then we will start our engines up. We will do our right and then our left. So let's head back down to our FMC. And click on start.
Cockpit to ground. Go ahead.
We've been cleared for pushback and start straight back.
Roger that. Ready for push straight back. Brakes off.
So let's click our parking brake. And while we're down here real quick, let's go ahead and set our auto brake to RTO, rejected takeoff. Whoops, wait.
Brakes released. Here we go.
Now as we're being backed out, let's go ahead and head to the overhead panel and click on the right starter. And as you can see right here, our right engine is starting firing up. I usually let this get close to about 60 and then I will initiate the fuel. So we hit our right fuel button by letting it flip upwards. And now our engine's firing up.
Pushback complete. Park brake, please.
Now we're done with our pushback. Let's go ahead and set our parking brake.
Brake set.
Alright, steering pin is disconnected. Watch for the slip release from guide side or left. Have a good flight.
Go ahead and click on our left start button. Start engine. And it's at about 33, a little bit more. That's far enough. We'll go ahead and click the left engine. And it just flipped over. So we'll go ahead and head back over to the overhead real quick. And right here where we started our APU, we'll go ahead and click it to off. As you can see, almost all the lights are off on the overhead now. These will go off on their own. Now if we can set our packs to auto, and those should go off. That off button light should go out too as well. And there they are, they just went out. And everything looks good. If you want to turn your lights on over the overhead, you can do that right here if you want them lit up a little bit. That's for right underneath in the front. I haven't used this plane in such a while, I'm not even sure where the light is for the top. Anyway, we already have our taxi lights on. There's our dome light. Here's our overhead, I believe. I think you would be able to see it if it was dark. So now that we have our APU off, let's go ahead and head back down to our pilot seat. And we need to set our flaps to 5. That should be 1. That should be 5. Now all we need to do is release our parking brake. And let's get moving over to our runway. And I'm pretty sure it's off to the right. I really hope that this plane works as well in Microsoft Flight Simulator as it does in Prepared 3D, because this thing has some power. I know P3D doesn't look all that great on the ground anymore compared to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and even X-Plane has done a really good job with making the airports look so much better with default. And this was a payware airport from years and years ago from FS Dream Team, and even it looks pitiful for being something that I paid for probably 6-7 years ago. I know there's a 737 MAX out for P3D as well, but I didn't pick it up because I just don't know where P3D is going to be heading. A lot of people speculate that there's going to be a P3D version 6, and if it was anything like Microsoft Flight Simulator, where maybe you had streaming scenery, then I would probably dump Microsoft Flight Simulator and stay with P3D. I would rebuy all these planes for P3D if they did streaming software for this. Or, you know, maybe they're designing something completely new, or maybe they're not doing anything at all. But that's something none of us know quite yet. we'll go ahead and turn our taxi light off and turn our runway lights on. Until there's a 777, I would never completely abandon P3D anyway until they come out with something better. As far as physics go, P3D and X-Plane, in my personal opinion, is still just better than what the Microsoft Flight Simulator offers, with the exception that the scenery on Microsoft Flight Simulator is 100 times better. I do have to agree with that 100%. So we're going to click return here. Let's check. We can go ahead and put our position report in. Come on, are you gonna accept it or not? We need to go to our legs and see where it says intercept. As soon as we get off the ground, we're going to need to move mechanical or mechanic or whatever up to where it says intercept. So here we go. We just go ahead and click on our little screw here, that Pmdg so nicely installed for us for our toga. And here we go. Try to stay on the center line. You can feel the bumpiness.
80 knots.
80 knots. Getting ready to hit V1. That's BR. And there's V2. Positive climb, gear up. Go ahead and move our flaps up one, wrong way. It's actually time to put our flaps up all together. Pull this up, move board up, execute, and autopilot. Our auto brakes have been turned off automatically. Remember, this is not Airbus, so we don't need to set the speed brakes on the ground or anything. It's just left as is until landing. We can go ahead and set, what I like to do is just hit this with the hit cancel, and then I click on the fuel tab, and that's what I leave showing down here. This thing takes off so fast, we're already at 7,000 feet. once we cross 10,000 feet, we'll turn our landing lights off. Then at 18,000 feet, we'll set our barrel to standard right here where my mouse is moving. Lights off. And let's see if we have any. We're good pretty much all the way up to 33,000 feet. Then when it's time, we will click on our approach and then choose our speed. There's no specific one you have to choose. You can either click on the ones with 20 degrees of flaps at 166 knots, the 25 and the 157 knots, or the 30 flaps with the 148. Obviously the slower one is an easier plane to control. If you use the faster one, it might be a little bit more difficult to control than the one that's going much slower, as long as you don't stall, obviously. So we'll just go ahead and leave it back on legs and put that away. Right now we're waiting to change our barrel reference. As long as you don't have anything over in this screen that's lit up red, you should be fine. That's showing that there's no errors or anything and that the plane is behaving the way it's supposed to. Of course, that ground, I'll tell you, it looks like just like green muck or something compared to the new Sims. I think I may have the saturation a little too high anyway, but it don't matter. Nothing's correct the way it's sitting. I mean, I sure wouldn't want to get into a Piper Cub or something and just want to fly low and slow over that now. But this ESP engine that was used for Microsoft Flight Simulator X has been around since 2003. It's been a long time. So let's go and click on standard. Now we've set it to our standard barrel reference. And now we're good until our top of climb and all the way across to our top of descent. So let's see. You can see where our TC is, where our top of climb is. And you can see already where our top of descent is. I think the best way to be able to have your flight plan set up is to go like, if my mouse was aligned, you would like start down here at the bottom. You'd go straight on up to like 40,000 feet, move across for maybe 20 miles, and then have to descend straight on down to your runway. That's the way that most flights are for the short ones. It also saves more fuel because it may take a little bit more to get up to that top of climb, but then if you're only in the between your top of climb and your top of descent for 20 miles, then basically your engines are idle all the way down, so you're saving a lot of fuel down to where you right before you have to do your approach, where the plane is pretty much idle. So it is a money saving thing in real life. Let's check the outside of the plane. Another thing I'm not sure I understand about Pmdg, they don't have a cabin, even for the ones with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Why they don't do that, I have no idea. I don't know if they're just trying to save time or money or what the deal is. Beautiful plane though. The big thing about doing flight sim videos is the fun part is getting it up to your top of climb after you've done everything on the ground. And then that's why I try to do short videos. That way no one's just sitting here having to watch the plane just float away in the sky until it's time to start descending again. So that's what I've been trying to do here recently. So I'm gonna leave it right here, and I'm gonna mute my microphone for a couple minutes, and I will be right back. Alright, so we're still like 100 and actually we're still about 300 miles to our top of descent, it looks like. Looks like 160 there. I guess I'm just used to being on the left side of the plane like I am with the left side of the car. A lot of the decision making, I know, excuse me, in P3D was to not have a cabin because of memory usage, or what they called VAS. But in Microsoft Flight Simulator, that's not an issue, so I don't know why they couldn't at least model the cabin back there, at least in the 737 planes. I imagine that Microsoft Flight Simulator will do the same thing as far as charging one price for the 200, the 777-200LR, and then they will do a 777ER for a different full price, and a different price probably for even the freighter version. I really hope that's not the case, especially with the freighters, because I mainly only flew the LR version and the freighter version in P3D. I know they have an ER version as an add-on that's not full price for P3D, that does have a tablet in it. But I've been so used to not using a tablet that it doesn't really matter if I have it or not. To me, it's almost easier just to put the information in manually into the FMC and be done with it. I know a lot of newcomers and even a lot of the normal users would prefer to have the tablet inside the plane. But, you know, each to their own as far as who wants to have what inside their plane. You know, if people prefer to have the tablet to do their calculations, to me it's just as easy just to look at the flight plan and put the information in. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, I do like to have the traffic turned on when I'm not streaming, because it makes the world not, you know, it doesn't feel so empty like it does now. You know, it was hard to add traffic inside P3D and then have the settings turned way up, because it was just too many resources on the computer. You can see up my left hand corner And well, you can see in the right too, I'm getting about 95 frames per second. It's over 100 in the left. My VRAM is 2.3 gigabytes out of 11, which is really 12 out of the 12 gigabyte video card. The 32-bit versions like FSX, that's why it struggled so much there towards the end, and that's why I believe people moved to P3D, because he had a 64-bit version. You couldn't address more than 3.5 gigabytes of RAM. Anything over that 3.5 gigabytes of memory and the game would just crash or it'd throw errors. And that's why I ended up leaving FSX behind for P3D. And then X-Plane has been 64-bit, I think, for the past at least, this is at least the third version. If not, it may have been 64-bit for many years before that, but I didn't start using it until X-Plane 10. You know, I'm a little bit disappointed with some of their, not the game itself, but the people are not updating their products. You know, a lot of products and planes that I bought for X-Plane 11, they just abandoned when Microsoft Flight Simulator come out, and when P3D was abandoned, everything, you know, everyone just quit updating anything. So you kind of want to be leery about what you're purchasing, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. A lot of add-ons I bought off of I think it was called the Flight Sim store. One day they didn't send an email or anything. They just closed and all the add-ons, and there was at least 50 add-ons that I had bought, and I couldn't get the updated versions for the game for P3D or X-Plane because they just closed their doors. They must have filed bankruptcy or something and couldn't get to our updated products. I had bought the Aerosoft A330 from the Flight Sim store, and I had my product key, and this was for Prepared 3D. And when I reached out to Aerosoft, they said it wouldn't be fair to their developers if they sent me the updated version. So that's when I decided I would no longer use Aerosoft products again. If they're going to treat their customers that way, then that's when I decided I wouldn't buy it anymore. So far the best ones, I believe, is Pmdg. They at least stand by their products. At least they have for me anyway. And we're about 60 miles or so from our top of descent. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and set your auto brakes ahead of time. It's some things that you might forget. Of course, that's what a checklist is for. From the beginning, since I started my channel back in 2011, or that was actually when I kind of really started using YouTube, and every now and then I would upload a video here and there, and then I made a few videos, and then I just kind of quit uploading videos in 2016. So I had about 20,000 subscribers at one time, and then I just quit working with it and, you know, uploading new content. But here in 2023, I decided I'm going to go ahead and play flight sim. Anything I play, excuse me, anything I play, I'm going to upload, and that way anyone looking to play that specific game or that flight sim or whatever, that, you know, maybe I can earn a little bit of tips or be able to help people out that actually want to learn about that specific game. You know, maybe there's that, maybe you're trying to land that 777 and you don't understand what that other YouTuber's saying. Maybe you might comprehend it better the way I say it, or you never know. So that's why I do it, and there's nothing wrong with trying to entertain and help other people. So after we make this our left turn up here on our screen here, we will go ahead and put our landing information in, that way we don't forget. And we already done set our auto brakes, and then I don't arm the spoilers or the speed brakes until closer to landing, because sometimes you will need to use your speed brakes to slow your plane down closer to the runway. I'm probably one of the most unconfident people when it comes to flying, even though I know what I'm doing for the most part in the flight sim. I'm still not real confident about when it's actually time to do the landing. I always think I'm gonna do something wrong. So when we get to ELD, I will go ahead and put our information in. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, the clouds are so thick, if you put it on live weather, if it is cloudy that day, I mean, you can't see shit when you're landing. So sometimes I'll either just turn it off because I want to be able to visually see my runway when I'm landing. I'm not saying it's not challenging not to do it that way, but I want to be able to see what I'm landing on. I don't want to just come popping out of the clouds and then there's the runway. That's something that, you know, is more of a challenge if that's what you want to do, but I just prefer to see what's going on around me. But I'm not a real pilot, so I guess that's okay. And now that we're getting ready to make our turn, I'm going to go ahead and go over to our initiation page. And I think we'll do a flaps 25 with a speed of 156. So we can go ahead and put that in there, and it's all prepared for us. Then head back to legs. And that's expecting that Memphis is not messed up as far as the runway goes, or there was big craters in the ground when with Orbix. I don't know if they ever fixed the ground or not. That's the only thing running as far as the ground is the Orbix. That it's called FTX global that's supposed to make the ground textures look a little bit better. So our next altitude will be 230. But I'm going to go ahead and bring us down. This 777, you can pretty much put it all the way down to the, you could put it probably at 0 and it'd be fine. So I'm just going to put it down to about 3,000 and leave it sitting there. And when we get to our top of descent here, it's going to automatically, you don't have to push anything, it just does it on its own. Watching other videos, and a lot of real pilots that were talking about the 777 say how much of a joy this plane is to fly in real life. So when we get down close to the runway, all we'll have to do is, when we turn our approach on, is put in our landing speed. It's getting ready to storm outside in real life. Down here in Florida, it's starting to become the stormy season again. And there it goes. We're getting ready to do our drop down now. And hope our electricity don't go out. When those streamers do these flight sim videos, I mean, it's not the easiest to bounce from one plane to the next, you know, because every single one of them behave the same, you know, but it wouldn't be much fun for the people watching if we just kept doing the same plane over and over and over. And here comes our rain in real life. It's 1:21 a.m. Eastern New York time here, just south of Orlando, Florida. So it looks like we're between 80, right there's 80. So we're about 80 miles, 90 miles from our airport. It's amazing how far out we go from our actual airports to land. And when it's time to do our ILS landing, what we'll be looking for is down here to make sure that this stays aligned, and right here to make sure that this stays aligned. And that will show that we're right level with the airport to land the runway. We still got six waypoints, or yeah, on our star. This is our Winston transition right here, and this is our star on Holbrook. So we got 67 miles, and then basically it'll drop really quick. Well, that storm outside's really brewing up. I'm about to shut my window. Phew. Stormy out there. And we're heading down through 25,000 feet. When we get to 18,000, we'll set the standard up back over to the Barrow reference. Then at our 10,000 feet, we will turn our landing lights on again. Yeah, after this I plan on doing some Train Sim World, and seem like a lot of people may be interested in Car Mechanic Simulator. And then of course Star Wars Jedi comes out on the 28th, which is a new first-person shooter. That looks pretty interesting. So we got a little bit of ways to go here, and then we will turn. For some odd reason, it doesn't do much good to hit your localizer. It seems to grab that automatically. Then all you have to do is click on your approach button. Your LNAV and VNAV will stay connected until we get on our approach. And even as of right now, we're right on the money for our landing, even though we are 60 miles out. That's about 40 miles. We still can't see where we're turning at. We got 44 miles to go. So Holbrook will drop off soon, right here at this next waypoint. See where we are, right here. And we'll slide over to RoCab. Now you can see us starting to get ready and come down through the clouds. Still a good training platform. Ground don't look too good, but yeah, it's still a good training platform. Now our doggies are going crazy with it storming. Come here. Can't believe our dogs are scared of the storms. You'll see a little white pop up right here that will show us at least we're in the range of the localizer, and the same thing over here, and then that's when it's safe to go ahead and push your approach button. That's if the runway is even there. I know that there used to be all kinds of errors, as I said earlier, with FTX Global. If P3D would just redo the way the clouds look, I know they have made them look better, and would do streaming scenery, then maybe at least they could at least match X-Plane 12 now. And we just dropped under 18,000, so we need to hit our standard. You can see we've fallen off the glide slope a little bit there. You can probably hear the rain in real life. And we're not too far from Rocab. Probably hear more rain than you actually do the sound of the flight simulator at this point. We're getting closer. Still right now, we're still right on the money here. I'm not even sure what altitude Memphis sits at. Still doing good. The doggies are about to lose their mind here. Got 6 more nautical miles on Hobart. 13 miles on Rocab, and then we will do our transition. We will be at our transition. We should be turning our landing lights on at 10,000, but we're getting pretty close, so I'm going to go ahead and turn those on. That's one thing I always seem to forget when it's at 10,000 feet or at landing. I always end up turning the taxi lights on because I forget to turn the landing lights on. Okay, let's see how far we are from our runway. We get about right there is when I will, it shows that A, I will hit the approach. See where we are in the FMC. Our approach starts here, so right when we hit Winston, that's when I will hit our approach. And it should also light up here when I turn it on. About 6 more miles. And you can see our speed is starting to slow down a little bit. I seem to have a problem with either slowing down too quick, or waiting too long to turn the approach on. It's better to at least have it on too soon than it is to have it on too late, obviously. And we got about 1 more mile there. We're at our altitude constriction at 10,000 feet. Now we'll start dropping again. There we go. Couple more minutes and I will go ahead and hit my approach. This works the same way in FSX if you're using FSX. I mean, and now that we're on our transition and our approach, just a little bit further. Let's go ahead and hit our approach. Now the plane will start slowing down to our landing speed, and then we'll need to start. It's wanting us to put some flaps up now, so if you do it too soon, it's just going to be a very slow ride into the airport. You do it too late, well, you're going to miss your airport. And I'm going to go ahead and put my gear down to put some drag on the don't necessarily have to do this until we'd be right up here at this turn, but I'm going to do it now. Now you can see our L nav still on, our V nav's on, our auto throttle's still on, our approach is set. When it's time, we can then set our approach speed, which is 146. Now you can see the little white marker right here to line up with our runway, left and right, and it'll be the same way right here. Sometimes it will say more drag right here in the FMC, and that's just telling you that it needs you to slow the plane so it can continue on its descent just slightly a little bit faster. Now the speed brakes are armed unless it wants more drag there. And we're going to go ahead and give it another flap. We're now at flaps 5. Don't want to give it too much, but the goal is to keep it within inside this reticle here, between the top and here. So, a little early putting flaps 5 out. And there we go, we're slowing down some more. Of course, this is not going to line up with our localizer until we've made our turn towards the runway, and then that should sit right there in the middle. If I would put more flaps out, then it would probably go up into this little red box, and then our alarm would sound. Now we're making our last turn. Now our localizer is alive right here, and our vertical speed is now alive. Now we're just waiting on it to line up. What I'm doing with the altitude is not necessary. I'm just, old habits take a lot to get rid of. We still have plenty of time. Our LNAV is now turned off just like it's supposed to. As we pull over a little bit more for our localizer. Our approach is still on. See, now our alarm, a little bit too fast. Drag required. Get that speed down to get lined up right here. That's just telling us that our speed brake's out. Get that speed down to where we need it to be. 146. Now, if there's no runway there, then that's not my fault. That's someone else's fault. Laps 25. Let me get back over to our seat. Now we're right on our glide slope. And right on our localizer. You can see our runway right up here. I think we're just a little bit too slow. Make sure we have everything set. Yeah, you can barely see our runway right up there in front. Not perfect, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna land. Go ahead and give us 30 degrees of flap. Oh, that was a hell of a glitch. We're still on our lines. So we're 1,000 above. see it already says land right here. 500 feet.
One light slope.
50,
Light slope.
20, 10,
Flare. Reverse thrust. $80 knots. Flaps up. Don't know what that clunking sound is. Never heard that before. Turn our landing lights off. Turn our taxi light on. Turn our auto brake off. I wonder if that's something they added in there. I never heard the clunk before like that. Flight directors. Sounds like something's falling apart underneath there. Probably good enough there. Set our parking brake. Go in here. Click on menu, FS actions, ground connections. Set our chocks. Request our ground power unit. Go to our overhead. Turn on our external power. Turn off our engines. Turn off our window heats. Turn off our hydraulics. Turn off our fuel pumps. And I don't really have anything in here for unloading passengers or anything. Turn our taxi lights off, strobe lights off, wing, logo, nav, beacon. And to power down the plane, we can turn off our emergency lights. That'll be ready for the next flight. And I believe everything up here is all set to go. Turn off our ADARU. Let's see if there's anything else left to turn on or off. So if you still own P3D and you like this plane, it still might be a worth cause for you to buy it or fly it. I bought it 3 different times. I bought it for FSX, I bought it for P3D version 2, then I bought it for P3D version 4, which when it was free carried over to P3D version 5. And then we will just go ahead and disconnect our ground power and turn off our battery. And that's pretty much it. Welcome to Memphis. Still a very, very beautiful aircraft. It may have been expensive, but it was definitely worth the price. So I will be going silent for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to come back and play some... I plan on doing some more Microsoft Flight Simulator tomorrow, and then I'm going to go ahead and play some Train Sim World. I don't know if anyone has any interest in that or not, but if you do, I'll be back. If not, I hope to see you in the next Flight Sim video. Please like, subscribe, tip. If you want to see more videos like this, please leave them in the comments. If this is what you want to see, then this is what I will be more than happy to do. I'm here to help entertain and do what people want to see. So until the next video, this is Cully's Own Gaming, and thanks for watching.